Hello everyone, it's Magic here, and today I'm setting up my Sony A7RV for weddings. It's going to be a quick setup because I already set it up. I shot a couple of weddings with it, and I'm happy I just tweaked some settings, so I'm going to reset it now and set it once again so I can explain you what changes do I make to like a default settings of this camera. In order to let you guys see the screen, I'm using the HDMI recorder with my iPhone, which is the Accent CMO, which I really like. I might make a video on this if you're interested in that. Also, if you shoot weddings, check out my presets and check out my Flash for Wedding Photographers course. This is a 2-hour video course on how to use a single flash on a wedding. So if you don't know anything about flash, this is for you. If you know something about flash, but you want to feel confident with shooting flash at weddings, make sure to check this out. So let's go into menu. Okay, so the first thing camera asks me after setting up the date is if I want to set the auto power off temperature. I want to set it to high so it lets the camera to shoot longer when it heats up. It's only for video actually, but I still set it up like this. I do not register my smartphone now. So yeah, this is a blank state of Sony A7R V. Let's go into the menu and start from the top. So the image quality, I'm shooting raw files. In order to go to the raw files, I'm going here, raw. But what I do is, since these are 61 megapixel cameras for my wedding work, I'm actually using a medium raw. This is what I shot for the past few weddings. And what I'm only missing with this camera is that with medium raw, I don't get 10 frames per second. I only get 7 frames per second, which sadly is a downgrade for me from my Sony A7 IV, which I had 33 megapixels and 10 frames per second. So now I have less megapixels and slower frames per second. So this is not ideal, but I still prefer that than shooting 61 megapixel files. Also, I'll show you how I use the APS-C functions as well. So this is crucial actually for this workflow. So I'm doing medium raw. I don't shoot JPEGs. What I do, I also do simultaneously recording on both of my card slots. So that's the first tab here. Aspect ratio, I'm not changing that. I'm not changing that. These are video features. I'm not changing that. APS-C, I set it to off right now. So here for this main type of shooting, I'm going to be shooting medium RAWs for both of my cards, but without APS-C shooting. Long exposure noise reduction on. I do not change anything here. I do shoot sRGB. My all workflow is sRGB. And here I'm using the shading compensation and chromatic aberration. So here I set it to default. I do not change this. This I don't need. File folder settings. What I like to do actually is, first of all, I like to have a date folder with the files. It makes it easier for me then to find the actual files if I'm shooting multiple days or I'm using a bigger card. Recently I started using this 1 terabyte CFE Express card, so I can record multiple stuff on this. It's going to be easier for me to find the photos in the folder. I do change the file name. So I have two identical cameras. I have two A7R V, but I changed the file names. So I have different file names for each of the cameras, so I can like immediately see which photos are shot with which camera. So the first camera has the naming 1MA from 1Magic. This one is going to be 2MA. So let me go just here. It only lets me do like 3 characters, so that is why it's only like this. So I'm going for 2MA for Magic. That's it. Here, down here. Bam, bam. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All right. Now, I put my copyright information as well, so I do use my copyright information here. I just put my name. That's it. Bam, bam. Right copyright. Yep. All right. Right serial number. Yes, please. I actually do that. So I have the serial numbers on my raw files. I'm going to use this in a second, actually. I'm going to save all these settings to one of the custom buttons on the camera. So I'm going to go back here, but so far I don't need this. I'm shooting high speed continuous. I don't use bracketing. I don't use interval. I don't use pixel shift. I don't use silent, so it has to be off. I only shoot mechanical shutter, that's it here. And I do turn off the E-front curtain shutter. You might find my video about this. I made actually 2 videos. So this is the setting that changes your bokeh if you're shooting above 1/4000 of a second, since I'm using mostly prime lenses, mostly wide open, so 1.2 1.4 aperture, when I'm going outdoors, when I mostly shoot outdoors, the bokeh is just crushed because of this function. So yeah, I'm not using that. Anti-flicker, I set it to on. It can like delay slightly your shutter, but it's important like when shooting indoors, when shooting weddings with mixed lighting, sometimes you might get this flickering effect, so it's going like brighter and darker. So if you don't want that, set it to on. This is not bending. Don't confuse it with bending. Bending is that these black stripes across the frame. These happen when you use electronic shutter under artificial light. Anti-flicker is just lights going darker and brighter in the frame. So all frame is darker or brighter. It's just slightly pain, you know, when you have like multiple photos from one moment and one is darker, one is brighter, one is darker, one is brighter, because your light just flickering and camera picks this up. So that's why I set it to on. Image stabilization, I don't use this, I don't use this. What I do use very much grid line display. So if you do care about composing, this is crucial. I do use rule of thirds. Here, this is quite actually important as well. So this is what you see on the screen. Does the changes of your settings affect what you see on the screen? Yes, by default it's well set, except one thing. So I don't want my flash to be included in that exposure effect. What does it mean is when I put the flash on camera, the camera thinks, oh, you're shooting with flash, so I'm going to bump the exposure on your screen to match your kind of final exposure. It never works, so I prefer to set it exposure settings only, so no flash included in what you see on the screen when shooting live view, which is always what we're shooting. ISO, I'm using ISO Auto, and I'm using ISO Auto from, actually, I'm going to be 16,000, and here the ISO minimum shutter speed, I set it to 1:250. I'm going to also set a custom button for that. So this means my shutter won't go below 1:250. First, it's going to start bumping the ISO to the limit, and then it might go lower than 1:250. But for most of the day, I'm way below 16,000 ISO. So I'm just going to be at the minimum shutter speed of 1/250 of a second. This I don't change anything here. Flash mode, fill flash. I do have to set wireless flash. So if you are using external flashes, or basically if you're using like ProPhoto flash, maybe it won't work until you set it to wireless flash set to on. So that's what I set here. White balance, I always use some of the white balances. I'm going to be shooting outdoors today, so I'm going to probably using shade white balance for the warm tone of my images. Priority set, this I don't change. Creative look, I keep it standard, and picture profile, I set it to off. I go back and forth with the derange optimizer. I don't have like a strict opinion on this. If you do, let me know what is your desired setting here. Zebra display, no. Focus mode, okay. Priority set is autofocus for me. Sorry, it's release for me right now. This is what I'm using, meaning it's prioritizing me being able to click the picture over waiting for autofocus to be locked and then letting me take the picture. So this way I know that if something is happening in front of me at weddings, it happens all the time. Even though the camera didn't focus, it will let me click, so I have the moment. Even if it's like slightly out of focus, it's gonna be still fine. AF tracking I set to locked on. I have a full video on that, but also I'll be making a separate autofocus guide, so I'm gonna go deeper here. I turned off the autofocus elimination. I hate it. It doesn't help me at all. I use focus priority for aperture drive. There's a video on that as well. It's a crucial setting for me. So if you're shooting higher f-stops and it's dark, the camera will open up your aperture, and you're going to be shooting in like wider open aperture, not shooting. It's going to be focusing with the aperture more wide open and only closing it for your pictures, making the autofocus way better under dark circumstances at higher f-stops. This I don't use. Wait, actually I do use pre-autofocus. I don't have a lens here, but I would set this to on. So pre-autofocus I would set to on. Focus area, I only use the ones here at the bottom. Also tracking spot. Also you need a lens for that, I think. Yeah, the lens is not attached. That's sadly. Also, quick interruption, this video is actually sponsored by PicTime, so if you are a wedding photographer, you have to check out PicTime. They have a free trial, and with code MAGIC, you'll get extra month off. This is a gallery provider solution, so I use it to deliver my photos to my clients with like a beautiful gallery, but that's not all. They introduced a store that showcase beautiful products that you can fulfill with any of the labs like across all the world, and they showcase the actual products of your couple. So when they go to the store in the gallery, they will see the products with their favorites photos on it. This is a game changer. This just makes the decision making for them so much easier. And then on top of that, PicTime actually introduced a slideshow tool, so a tool that you can just create a slideshows within your gallery with like full library of music that you can use licensed free. And then recently they introduced blogs, which is amazing. So like while already having the images on your server, you can select the ones you want and create a beautiful blog and just paste the code to your website for a great looking blog. So make sure to check it out. PicTime, use code MAGIC at checkout. Thanks so much PicTime for sponsoring this video. Okay, let's go further. Focus area limit, I don't limit. Focus area, change it to red. Change it to red. The white is just bizarre that it's default. Nothing here. Area display during tracking. I also go back and forth with this. This is when you see your red point, let's say, on the frame, and when you go into tracking mode, it's going to disappear when it's set to off. So you won't see your point, whatever you were pointing at. If you set it to on, you will always see your point wherever on the screen it was, even though the camera is tracking something else. So completely up to you. It's a matter of preference. Circulation of a focus point, I do not like it. It's meaning that if you go to the edge of your screen, your point will just go from right portion of the frame to the left portion of the frame. I wouldn't actually do that. Subject recognition, I use human. Right eye, I get to auto. Subject recognition frame display, I set to on. I love to see the frames over the people that camera sees, so I know, oh, it sees the people. Auto magnifier off, so I use a lot of manual focus lenses, and I hate it when it does the auto magnification to help me autofocus. I set it up with a custom button, but I don't use the auto magnification. Focus magnifier, yeah, we don't need this here. Peaking display off, yes. Actually, peaking display on. When I use a manual, it will only show the peaking when you're using manual focus lenses, and I do low level of peaking, so it only peaks when it actually sees the actual edges of the frame. I set the color to blue. This is fine. This is fine. There's one crucial settings for me here in Playback. Wait. No, not here. Not here. Not here. Here. Display is a group off, and display rotation I do off, meaning if I take a vertical picture, it will just fill whole screen. So for me, I just move a camera vertically to review the picture because it's bigger. Then nothing else is changed here. Nothing is changed here. No need for anything here. I will change the name of the camera. Actually, I need to see what's my actual name of the first camera so I can do this one accordingly. But I have like a different naming for my cameras in order to then, if I'm at the wedding, I use two cameras, and sometimes I just transfer pictures to my phone. My phone will see the namings of these cameras, so I know which one is which. This is perfect. and now the custom buttons. So, okay, this one, I use the ISO auto minimum shutter speed. So I change the minimum shutter speed accordingly. So I have like a quick access to this. For this button, I actually use something to stop recognizing the subject for me. So you might happen sometimes that you're trying to take a picture of like a close-up shot of maybe just the lips of the bride when she's like being, you know, make up, how would you say that? So the makeup is being done, you want to just do the lips, but the autofocus is keep, you know, recognizing the face and going through the eye. So whenever I'll hold it, it will just stop doing this. So I can just rely on just a point. So in order to do that, subject recognition, tracking off on hold. So it only stops tracking while I am holding this button, okay? So I'm just like press and hold, stops tracking. Then here on number 3, I do have focus magnifier here, helping myself when I'm using manual focus lenses. I'm just gonna zoom in order here. I'm just gonna zoom in to help myself focusing, all right? Number 4, I keep it as default, meaning focus mode. I'm just so used to this. And here, for now, I also have a touch operation. So this is by default. I do not have like specific function. I used to have aperture drive here, but I found myself never changing it. So for now, I keep it like this. Maybe I'll find something else to put here, but for now, I just keep it by default. Here is default. Here on this button, I have the what it is called here. It's a recording media setting, so I can just quickly change if I want to record to 1 card slot or 2 card slots, like really quickly. Drive mode, ISO. Here I have aperture drive actually. So this is my quick settings. It's if for some reason I need to change this, I'm gonna have it here. Here, oh, this is a big one. I hate the movie recording button because I don't use this camera for record videos, and you can still always record the videos with your shutter. So I'm just used to having white balance. Here and here focus area by default. Here for now I keep it. I'll keep it focus hold as a default. And here actually also I change it like this. I'm used to doing things like this, so just a separate. So my aperture is here and my shutter speed is here on the higher button. I don't use this wheel at all. It's too loose for me. It's like constantly changing. This is it. I'm not gonna go videos. I'm gonna keep just as the same because I don't use video. And my quick menu, I will set it up at some point. I don't have it set up so far, but I'll let you know when I do my quick menu stuff. That's it. And actually we're pretty much done here. Let me just quickly go through the last touch operation off. No, I don't use touch operation at all. Finder monitor auto. Yep. Display high. I like to see the high, no, not just the high quality of the display. Monitor flip, auto review off. That's great. Easy. Auto signals off. Obviously, nothing. And anti-dust function off. I don't use this. I have a full video on why I do not do this. And that's it. That's my quick setup. And now I'm just going to do one thing. So if I'm using aperture priority, which I have set up on my wheel here now, this is what I use. I shoot aperture priority. I'm going to save these settings. Look at this. I'm going to actually save these settings on my number 1 here. So I'm going to 1 registered. And now if I move my top dial to 1, I have all these settings. And now let's play something really cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my raw file to compressed raw file. So now I'm shooting full RAW file, 61 megapixels, but now I'm turning this to APS-C mode, meaning I crop the image and still get back with 26 megapixels, and I'm gonna save this as my number 2 wheel. And this way, on number 1, I have a 26 megapixel file because it's just a medium RAW, and on number 2, I also have a 26 megapixel file, but this is a full file cropped to 26 megapixels, meaning from a 50 millimeters, I'm getting like 80 millimeters. From 35, I'm getting a 50. From 24, I'm getting a 35. So with this quick setup with 1 prime lens, I'm getting like 2 prime lenses, still getting out with the same image, like the same image size actually, which is awesome. So I couldn't do this on like a less megapixel camera because then I would be dealing with a much smaller files. But with A7R5 having 61 megapixels, I can actually get away with just using only 26 megapixel files at all. I will just do one more setting, so I'm just gonna do compressed RAW without APS-C on number 3. And this way, if I'm having a picture of like a group photo, let's say, and there's like 100 people, I'm just gonna change my camera to number 3 so I can have a full RAW file. So for some reason, if I need like a bigger file, I'm just gonna do that on my number 3. I'm actually gonna show it to you. So I'm gonna go now to menu, and I'm gonna do file, image quality settings, and I'm doing again compressed RAW, but I'm now turning off the APS-C mode, and then I'm gonna save this here, camera set memory on number 3, and now it's registered. So now number 1 is my, you're gonna see here actually, here. It's RAW medium, you can see on the top. Number 2 is full RAW but APS-C mode. You can see that little icon of a APS-C mode. And number 3 is a full RAW, but a full RAW, no APS-C mode. So I have like 3 different settings for using this camera. If I missed something, let me know down in the comments if there's any setting that you would change. I'm always learning. I'm happy to hear your opinions or how would you set this camera, but for like majority of my work, this is what I've been using so far for the past few months. Stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for a full autofocus guide, for a memory cards guide. There's going to be multiple videos coming on this A7R5 since I'm now using these cameras on a daily basis. And for now, thanks so much for watching. I see you guys in the next video.